Stopping by woods on a snowy evening is one of Robert Frost's finest poems. It was written in 1922 and was published in 1923 in his volume New Hampshire. Robert Frost won Pulitzer Prize and vast recognition as an important American writer for this collection. He wrote this poem while living in the village of Franconia in New Hampshire. This is a beautiful poem of Robert Frost, which consists of 4 stanzas of 4 lines each. So let me give you an explanation of stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. The poet or the narrator of the poem, stopping by the woods on a snowy evening, stops by some woods on his way one evening. The narrator knows that the owner of the woods, and he even knows where he lives. He is a bit relaxed, thinking that the owner of the wood lives in the village, and so he won't see the narrator stopping here. Therefore, he can continue watching the natural beauty of his snow-covered woods. In the last line of the first stanza, he says to watch his woods fill up with snow. It makes us imagine that there are huge trees, it's evening time and snowing. The trees and the entire place is covered with snow. The writer or the poet seems to be enjoying this moment. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. In the second stanza, the narrator of the poem says that his dear horse, who he is using as his carriage, must think it strange to stop here between the woods and the frozen lake in a dark evening, as he normally stops near a farmhouse. The narrator calls his horse my little horse, as it is very dear to him. Here the poet has laid stress on little, so we can assume that it could be a pony. The narrator seems to be a humble and an ordinary man who cannot buy an expensive horse, hence referring it as my little horse. He also personifies the horse by indicating that it has a thought process, and the poet refers it as he in the next stanza. In this particular stanza, the narrator suggests that the weather is cold enough to freeze a lake. The expression darkest evening could suggest several things. Maybe the narrator is a traveler who is very depressed due to his long journey or the extreme cold weather conditions there. It may also refer to the longest night of the year, that is either 21st or 22nd December. Hence, we could refer it as longest hours of darkness, and because it is December, so freezing cold temperatures. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The narrator helps us to picturize that in these lines, the horse is shaking its head, ringing the bell attached to its harness, as if he is asking his master whether there is any problem, as it is very unusual of him to stop by the woods in the darkness. And if you pay attention on this particular stanza of the poem, there are only 3 sounds referred in this stanza: the sound of the harness bell, the sound of the light wind, and the sound of the snowy flakes. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, and I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Here in the last stanza, the narrator describes the woods or the forest using 3 adjectives: lovely, dark and deep. This indicates that he is enjoying the scene and wants to continue for long, but he has other responsibilities in life. He has to go on a long way. He cannot get the pleasure of this feeling for long. And the important thing here is that the poet repeats the last line to attract the attention of the readers. He says, "Miles to go before I sleep." Here, sleep may refer to death. In real life, we may have many things to look at with awe, many things to enjoy, but in most cases, we cannot simply because we have other things to do in our lifespan. So perhaps the poet refers to a long journey ahead before the speaker could go to eternal sleep.